A point away at Bristol City. We'll find out if that was a good point on Sunday. This is Blue Monday. Hello and welcome to the very first live match reaction of the season. I'm back with Seb Brown and we're talking about a drab draw. So this is a bit of a throwback show, Seb. What are your initial thoughts? What is it, 10 minutes after the game finished?
Yeah, I mean, look, we can't sit here and pretend it was an excellent performance, but it's a point away from home at a team that is traditionally pretty good at home. I know they lost to Oxford last time out, but last season they were pretty imperious at Ashton Gate. So sometimes you do have to file these in the kind of the drawer of decent point, take it, haven't played well, move on, and look to go again on Sunday. And that's probably what we have to file this one as. You know, we didn't play well, we didn't lose. Didn't create a lot. We'll discuss the game in more depth, obviously, but sometimes you can get decent points when you don't play well, and I think tonight has to simply go down as that. And if we can win against Norwich on Sunday, it's a 7-point week, and we're all pretty happy, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we mentioned, the first Saturday of the season, and on the flagship show on Sunday night, that was Ben, Craig, and Dave. They suspected there might be a few changes in tonight's lineup, possibly one or two more than we expected. Seb, talk us through this Ipswich 11.
I think so, yeah. Me and Rich did a kind of a light Bristol City preview for top tier. And we kind of speculated that, 3-game week, you're probably going to see, I think we both agreed that Greaves would come back in. I think we probably thought that McAteer would come back in. I speculated about Azon starting one of these 3 games, and logically, he's not going to start against Norwich, so it made sense to give him that one. But when I think we all saw that lineup and saw 6 changes, I think we were all pretty surprised at that, let's be honest. Greaves back in for Kipre isn't that much of a surprise. Nunez starting one of the 3 again, perhaps not. Akpom didn't get any minutes at all, did he, against Portsmouth? So I guess you could say Szmodic playing the 93, 94 minutes, whatever it was kind of a sign that he might well come back in. Then I was surprised Jack Clark and Azon, I guess, are the 2 real kind of stands out. Philogene been in such good form, 4 goals in his last 2 appearances because the Blackburn game never happened. So surprised to see Jack Clark get a start. Jack Clark had been doing well, having come off the bench. It might be a reward for the effort he's put in recent weeks. And like I said to Rich on the Bristol City pre-match light, Azon probably had to start one of them because I think it's a big ask for George Hurst to start all 3 games in a week, given how much he puts into it. And I was surprised at 6. I think 3 or 4 would have been probably much more expected, and 6 just felt a little bit too much. And that kind of showed, didn't it, in the initial kind of the game, the familiar patterns of play weren't necessarily there. A couple of those players I've just mentioned didn't have great nights. There were some off performances, and I think we've kind of pretty much worked out now what the first choice 11 is versus who the kind of the more rotation options are going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Haven't acknowledged the chat yet. Hello to everyone joining us in the chat tonight. Please get involved with questions later on in the show. If you put a Q at the start and a question mark at the end, that will help us pick them out. But yeah, thank you all for joining us on the first Tuesday night show of the season. Let's have a quick look at the Bristol City team. Seb, Reese, I remember him scoring against us for Preston a couple of years ago. Twine, obviously quite a well-known name at this level. Dickey at the back, and then massive goalkeeper on loan from Manchester United.
Yeah, and I guess the big talking point was Jason Knight. He's barely missed any football for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He got subbed off with 5 minutes to go or so at the weekend and was therefore a doubt straight away. And to not have him in that central midfield was a big plus because he runs all day, and it was a relief not to see him on the starting lineup. And then it's the 2 behind Reese, isn't it? It's Mehmeti and Twine. They're the ones that have started the season really well. Reese is always a handful up front, and McCrory as well, who I guess we'll discuss a little bit at length if he was lucky to make it to whenever he was subbed at 55, whatever it was. He's been playing primarily down the left for them, but Sykes dropped out of the side and McCrory switched across to the right. But yeah, it's that attacking, it's the 2 10s, the 2 narrow 10s behind Reece Jacobson that's the real threat in that team.
Indeed. And on the flagship show on Sunday, they were lauding our left side and saying that hopefully at some point it clicks on the right side. But although it was slightly disjointed, as you mentioned, Seb, when we did create openings in the early parts of the game, it was generally down our left side again, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, that right side can't get going yet, can it? I mean, McAteer didn't have a great night, let's be honest, and Furlong, not that much better. The left side, it's great to see Leif Davis back doing what he does, isn't it? You know, such a torrid time last season at times, pushing up like he did in the Championship, but getting caught out by just better quality players week in, week out. And to see him back to his marauding best is great for everyone. I thought Jack Clark kind of did really well. Frustrating a couple of times when he kind of had chances, a half-a-side goal, and he chose to shoot from sort of 30 yards instead of continuing to work the angle. But we did start pretty well. You know, Bristol City didn't really offer much at all. We were knocking around quite nicely. The only thing that frustrated me was how slowly we moved the ball, and that kind of stayed as a theme for the whole of the first half. I thought we kind of allowed Bristol City to get themselves back into, you know, solid positions, solid formations, and therefore found it hard to kind of play through them. We did look a bit susceptible to long balls over the top and long balls straight down the middle. But for that first, 15 minutes, was it 15, 20 minutes? We looked in pretty decent control. I like Nunez. Every time he seemed to land on the ball, he was positive with it, and his range of passing looks like it'll be an excellent kind of weapon in the arsenal this season. So I was pleased with Nunez, pleased with the way we started. I was just a bit frustrated at how we couldn't get that right-hand flank going at all, and at times moving the ball was really slow and just not what we're used to. You know, we know we are always at our best when we move the ball quickly. There's quick interchanges of play between players, and we're looking to get the ball down the pitch really fast. And it was just something, for whatever reason, tactical presumably, we chose not to do it tonight, and we just kind of allowed Bristol City to kind of get themselves well organised. And although we started well, we apart from that Jack Clark shot that he got, you know, very wrong, I can't remember too many other chances we created.
Yeah, there was one that Clark sort of created for himself, wasn't there, on 15, where he sort of goes in a bit of a mazy dribble, cuts right the way across as he likes to do, but wasn't able to get his shot away, and Athon was blocked off. But yeah, all coming from down the left. But yeah, I think you were leading on to it, Seb, that we conceded a set piece, and you're thinking, right, lads, we conceded with the last set piece against Portsmouth on Saturday. Let's not make the same mistake again.
And it was such an avoidable set piece as well, was it? Was it McAteer with the heavy touch that kind of puts it behind for a corner? So that the corner in the first place was easily avoidable, I think. And then, yeah, Atkinson doesn't have to do that much to kind of just bully three of our players out the way. I think, is it Furlong, Clark and Azon, maybe, kind of starts in the centre of the goal, doesn't he? And makes that run to the near post. It's a quality delivery from Mehmeti.
A really good
delivery. Can't get around that. Yeah, it's a really good delivery from Anis Mehmeti. And yeah, Atkinson just bullies all three of those out the way and scores from close range. And I guess, you know, you want your keeper maybe to take charge in those kind of situations. You certainly want your defenders, especially Furlong, to be stronger. But yeah, for a really frustrating goal to concede it, because A, it was avoidable in my opinion, giving the corner away, and then yeah, to have three players kind of bullied. I know Atkinson's a lump, he's a centre half, he's a big guy, but you need to be stronger in those kind of positions. And a really frustrating goal to concede, considering how, despite not creating much, we'd started pretty well and knocked the ball around nicely. So yeah, more. Well, I guess set pieces, we'll kind of discuss them, is a bit of a running theme tonight. So that was the first of quite a few poor ones, shall we say?
Yes, yeah, we'll get on to some more of them. 21st minute, Mehmeti gets in behind Furlong. Does Furlong get away with one a little bit there?
Yeah, he pulls his shirt, doesn't he? He kind of, I guess it's the blind side of the ref, so arguably he can't see him. But yeah, to me, Furlong pulled his shirt, pulled him down, and yeah, I think he absolutely got away with one there. And yeah, I guess we'll discuss McCrory, but Furlong himself could have been a bit of trouble there. And that was that phase, wasn't it? After the goal, we just seemed really susceptible to these long balls. Yeah, long balls down sort of the centre of the pitch, and Twynham and Mehmeti were finding space, and for whatever reason, the likes of, you know, Greaves and Dara O'Shea just couldn't seem to deal with it, and that was a concern, because Bristol City weren't having to do too much to get themselves in, you know, in half decent chances. But on that one, yeah, I think Furlong 100% got away with one.
Yeah, more sloppy defending on 23. Reece got in behind Greaves on the counter, but we survive again. Then on 35, Nunez just slips over the ball in his what would you call what do you call boots when they're different colours?
2025 football.
Okay. Bristol City counter and Twine blast a shot over the crossbar. Probably not the right final decision from him. But yeah, despite us having all of the possession, Bristol City creating the better openings. Akpom, I wrote down at this point, hasn't had a kick. And then I think he maybe got one in our half. We had a couple of late sights of goal, but yeah, 68% possession in the first half. So slow and not creating anything.
No shots on target from us in the first half, were there? And yeah, just moving the ball kind of side to side. As you say, we were so slow and ponderous in possession. I went to Preston, what was that, third game of the season? And the first half there was, well, the whole game there was so similar. We just didn't look to move the ball quickly at all. And as I said earlier, we are at our best when the ball is moved quickly with quick interchanges, players making forward runs that can then be found out and kind of stretch the play and create space for others. And for whatever reason, we didn't get going at all. I guess the 6 changes have a part to play in that. You know, you've got a new central midfield, you've got a new central striker. The whole 3 behind the striker were changed from the weekend. You've got your 2 top goal scorers in Philogene and Hurst on the bench. So the 6 changes do have a part to play in that. Just strange with the likes of, you know, Nunez and kind of those players and Leif Davis and Jack Clark, how they weren't doing what, you know, kind of they started to do more in the second half with those quick balls. And yeah, the first half wasn't good, let's be honest. A really poor goal to give away, really poor from us despite dominating possession, no shots on target. It was a really frustrating first half and a really poor one. And yeah, I'm not surprised at halftime McKenna probably gets into them because nobody was more than a 5 out of 10. Maybe Jack Clark a 6 in that first half, but the vast majority were really, really poor, I thought.
Yeah, just too many changes, Seb. Do you think that Kieran McKenna's gone for that number of changes because it's Norwich or just because it's a home game at the weekend and this is the one that we can afford to drop points in?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it shows how much McKenna wants to beat Norwich. You know, I guess the whole narrative of not beating them for 16 years or whatever it is, he'll feel a responsibility to end that. It's so frustrating because Bristol City are very, very good at home. So if you look at the week as a whole, Portsmouth at the start of the week, Bristol City in the middle, and Norwich at the end, this is the hardest game of the 3 in reality. You know, they were a side that finished 6th in the playoffs last season. They've had a really good start or solid start to this season. They were 4th on, 12, 13 points before tonight. So looking at the 3-game week, perhaps potentially you make more changes against Portsmouth and then look to go real full strength away from home tonight and then go, you know, you've got that momentum and hopefully that winning run going into the derby on Sunday. So yeah, I'm surprised to see the 6 changes and well, look at the result. It's a 1-1, so you could argue we did get it wrong and maybe we just underestimated, you know, how physical and how tactically aware Struber was and how good Bristol were able to set up, but we helped them with the slowness in our play, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of played into their hands a little bit. McKenna decides not to make any changes at half-time. And to be fair, there is an instant change in the way that we're moving the ball. We're moving it a lot quicker at the start of the second half. And in the 51st minute, we're given a golden opportunity to draw level in the game set.
Yeah, and it's the one example of, you know, starting down the left, unsurprisingly. That is our massive attacking threat so far this season. And as you said, the ball is moved quickly. You know, it's a quick interchange from Davis into Clark and then a lovely little ball through to Akpom. I'll be honest, I thought in real time Akpom tripped himself up. I didn't realise that McCrory kind of got across him and kind of clipped his heel. I thought I saw the referee blow and thought, right, we might have got away with one there. And yeah, you know, Jack Clark, Mr. What's the word? Mr. Confident after the Derby one in the 106th minute or something. Puts the ball down, no nonsense, smashes it straight down the middle. And pleased for Clark, because I thought he was probably the bright spot so far. Well, probably in the entire evening, to be fair. Really pleased he got that goal. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, right, now we've got a chance to do something here, because McCrory at that point somehow, you know, he arguably could have gone in the first half. He gets booked for dissent and then he kind of pushed Davis in the throat or in the face. And, you know, you're kind of thinking he's just tripped Akpom there for the penalty. So you've now really got to kind of turn the screw a little bit here. You've got yourselves back in the game. You've not played well. You've got yourselves back on level terms. And now it's important to really look to go again and step it up. And to be fair, we did kind of step it up for 15 minutes, maybe after the penalty. And at that point, you kind of thought there's only one winner and the momentum seemed to be with us. But as it went on, it kind of, subs came in and it kind of just started to peter out, and then Bristol City started to swing their way again, didn't it?
Yeah, so just going through it chronologically, 54th minute, Matt Seaward goes into the book for persistent fouling. The ref did the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I think he got a touch on the one that he actually got booked for in the end, but that was a worry, wasn't it? Because you're thinking that him and, Davis, spoiler alert, ends up getting booked as well, and they're probably the two hardest players to replace at the moment on form. McCrory quickly subbed off for Bristol City. They're not going to make that mistake. In the 61st minute, really good move. Clark slips in, Davis whips it across. Nobody can get on the end of it. And then a very similar move a minute later where Davis flies across the box, gets the byline, and his cross is deflected onto the post and then hits a thon and goes off. We get a corner out of that. Greaves gets his head to it for a change, but the keeper falls on the ball. And then the Davis booking happens on 65, and that's maybe as Bristol City start to get back into the game. Sinclair Armstrong comes off the bench for them. Memories of an incredible individual performance for QPR against us early on in our promotion season. He was pretty lively again. And then, as you mentioned, the subs, Hurst, Villagine and Kiyusti on for Athon, Clark and Nunez. Not a great night for the full debutants, Seb.
No, I think, Azon kind of got the first 5-10 minutes. It was quite clear that they were putting in strong challenges on him to see what he was kind of made of. Had the weird one where he went down with his head and had the putty, the gel put on there because there must have been a nasty cut on it. I thought at times he showed okay. He kind of he won a couple of flick-ons, linked up the play okay, but it's still a big drop off to George Hurst, and he's going to take time to acclimatise to the level. Did McAteer go off in this kind of raft of substitutions? That was a bit later, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit later.
Yeah, Akpom obviously wins the penalty, but if he had more than 10, 15 touches in the game, I'd be surprised because he just seemed, and honestly, we can't really get that number 10 going at the moment, can we? Be it Schmodic or Akpom, for whatever reason, we are struggling to get that number 10 role really involved. Obviously, Connor Chaplin had it nailed down for so many years. So again, that might be one that takes a little bit of time there. But yeah, the as I said earlier, the kind of we know what the first 11 is, what the stronger players are, and I think that tonight kind of cemented that in a couple of key positions, I thought. Yeah,
there was a question here from We Follow the Town. What are your thoughts on Nunez's performance? Can only really remember him slipping and giving the ball away. You were quite impressed with him early on, Seb, but
I thought he started well.
He was trying to make things happen, wasn't he? But it just maybe a little bit of rustiness in there.
Yeah, perhaps he's not played a lot, has he? But yeah, for the first sort of that 20-minute spell in the first half where we were on top, I like the way he kept landing on the ball and the kind of the weight of pass. He would ping it into players and he was looking to make progressive passes and make things happen. So I like that, but kind of like the whole team, he just kind of slowed down, didn't he? Like everybody did, and they all kind of fell into the same trap of playing it around slowly. And yeah, I mean, we got a couple of kind of glimpses of his set piece delivery at times, but they were the best of the delivery. We'll discuss the ones towards the end in a minute, but it was nothing to write home about. But he will get better with minutes and stuff. And I just liked the early exchanges. I mean, Kayus this season has looked excellent at times. The way he's able to let the ball run across him and get us up the pitch and break the lines. That's not Nunez's game. Nunez is more of a ranging kind of passing player. So he will get better, obviously, with minutes in the tank. I just think that, like the whole team, for whatever reason, he decided to kind of slow things down after a pretty bright start.
Yeah, let's finish this game off then. It's fairly lively into the game. 78th minute, 2 let-offs. Greaves feels a dangerous cross. Good bit of defending from him there. Then Mehmeti hits a shot over from close range in a good position. That was when Schmodic came on for Akpom. Sinclair Armstrong gets in behind O'Shea. This is really good from Alex Palmer. He's someone that does appear to be growing in confidence. Decent, neat and tidy with the ball at his feet tonight. And when we needed him there, really sharp off his line to make that save.
Yeah, very much so. Sinclair Armstrong gets the wrong side of O'Shea. O'Shea can't touch him. He puts the arms up to signal that he can't do anything. So he's going to get the shot off, and Alex Palmer's out so quickly and does really well to get down. He ends up going out for a goal kick, doesn't it? Because I think it rebounds then back off Sinclair Armstrong, and we get the goal kick. So impressive by Palmer, that really good. But again, it was annoying and kind of concerning how easy it was for the likes of Sinclair Armstrong to get in behind us at times, especially down the channels and stuff. That they didn't have to work too hard to fashion those opportunities, and that was a real concern.
Yeah, well, Egley then comes on for McAteer, and in the 87th minute, this turns out to be the best chance that we created in this game. Outswinging corner from Philogene, lands perfectly on the head of George Hurst, but he heads over the bar. A really good chance, but it's not a horrendous miss, is it?
It's not, but I think he should hit the target. I can't remember who the player blocking the Bristol City player was. It's either one of Greaves or O'Shea, isn't it? And Hurst does well to kind of peel off his man and get the header. And I think he should hit the target there. It's not a horrendous miss, but it's one where I think he should work the keeper. But I guess the keeper's huge, isn't he? Was he 6'8", 6'9"? So maybe, maybe it kind of doesn't look as impressive given his size. But for me, I'd want him to hit the target there.
Sure. And then here we go, 93rd minute of the game. in a really dangerous position. I thought, Egley, what he'd done in the few minutes where he'd been on, he'd been really bright, and we get that free kick in that position, and it's not Leif Davis that goes over to take it, and O'Shea goes over to speak with him and talk through the plan. Unfortunately, Seb, the plan was seemingly kick the ball really hard into the stand where the Ipswich fans are, and really frustrate them.
File it under Larson Touré's corner. Guion Edwards, I think, won towards the end at Portman Road, the end of the COVID season. It's a mess, isn't it? He just hits it so hard, and it kind of sums the game up. You've got a really good chance to do something in the latter stages of the match, and it just goes, horribly, horribly wrong. And then there was one a few minutes later, wasn't there? We win another one, and
they weren't letting him. Furlong wasn't letting him take that one, was he?
No, but that one again is just played straight down the keeper's throat, and he comes and claims it with minimal effort. And you look at those. Our set pieces are an area for concern. They were most of last season, but you'll kind of accept last year that you're up against Premier League kind of players and Premier League defenders and attackers, and therefore that might be why you're struggling. But in this game, the first one was avoidable. The Atkinson, the Bristol City centre half, didn't have to do too much to muscle three of our players out the way and score. And then when you look at those kind of deliveries, the one from McGelly, the one from Furlong, it's an area that we really, really need to work on because last time we were in the Championship, those set pieces were absolutely crucial. I don't know why Leif Davis didn't take it. Clearly, they want to work the angle for the left footer to get the in-swinger. Leif Davis is still on the pitch. He's got proven delivery and proven quality, and for whatever reason, he's not up for either of them. So that was really strange. I know we are mixing things up more this year. Jaden Philogene is taking in-swinging corners. Nunez was taking corners tonight as well. But, you've got one of the best set-piece delivery players in the Championship there in Leif Davis, and strange that he wasn't involved in either of them.
Yeah, very strange. I think the Furlong one, easy in hindsight, but that one should have just been played short and then try and get the cross into the box. It's too easy with a dead ball from that distance for the goalkeeper to come and claim it. So yeah, that was all she wrote. A 1-1 draw against Bristol City. I suppose, Bristol City had a couple of, they had a penalty shout at the end. It was all getting a little bit hairy in that last 30 seconds, but we survived. We got out of there with a 1-1 draw, which with the start Bristol City have made this season and the games that we've got ahead, not the worst result in the world, Seb.
No, as I said at the start of the show, sometimes you have to just file these under. We haven't played well, but we haven't lost. We've got a point on the road, and it'll all depend on Sunday now, won't it? Because, like I said, 7 points from this week with a tough game away at Bristol City, and a game against your rivals that you haven't been for 16 years is a strong position to be in. If you go and drop points against Norwich or lose or whatever, then it looks very different. But yeah, they're a very good side at home. We just did not get going at all tonight. I think a lot of the first choice players have really cemented their positions, and sometimes a point can be decent away from home. And I've seen there's a lot of kind of negativity and worry about, where we are at this stage of the season. I think presumably people thought we might start this season like we did a couple of years ago, where you're winning 15 of the first 20 games or whatever, and the incredible momentum carries you through. This year's been much more of a slow burner, and we may have to accept going to harder places like Bristol, like Ashton Gate, who are Bristol City are a good side at home. Sometimes these kind of points can be valuable, and at the end of the season, hopefully you look back and you've got enough to get yourselves across the line. Picking up points when playing badly is never a bad thing, in my opinion.
Definitely not. And draw your away games, win your home games. You'll be absolutely fine. We're going to hear from our sponsors in a moment. Afterwards, we'll do questions from you guys in the chat. Please get involved. I'm sure you must have some more questions than answers after that show. This is how to get a question in, just as Thunderstruck has done it. But a Q at the start, question mark at the end. Seb, is it now a concern that we go through another game without a goal from open play?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what all the XG fans in the chat and everywhere, I don't know what the XG was for the game, but penalty aside, it can't be very high at all. I guess there was the one from the corner that just went wide, but open play we just aren't creating. Are we less so away from at home at Portman Road? We are, but we tend to be a bit kind of reliant on Jaden Philogene cutting inside onto his right foot and scoring worldies. That kind of stuff isn't sustainable, I wouldn't suggest. Lovely goal from George Hurst at the weekend. Obviously, that lovely kind of team move that we became so used to seeing a couple of years ago. So yes, it is a concern. It's a concern on nights like tonight when you're gonna have to pick up, find ways to pick up points and win games when you concede to crappy set pieces like we did. So away from home, for whatever reason, it's really not clicking yet, is it? This was better than Preston, but again, we do look very, very shot shy.
Indeed, we do. Yeah, is that just 2 goals away from home and both of them penalties?
Yeah, obviously the penalty away at Birmingham on the opening day, and then the penalty away tonight because the Blackburn game obviously didn't happen.
Didn't happen. Well, we didn't score in it anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, time to hear from our sponsors.
Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for property and business law. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need legal guidance, our dedicated team has got you covered. Trust our award-winning customer service team to handle your legal matters with care and expertise. Find out more at atwells.com or visit us at our offices in Ipswich, Colchester, London, and our new location in Woodbridge.
Seb, this October is crazy. There's so much going on. We've got the derby on Sunday. We've got a live show on the 25th. And we've got none other than James Scowcroft joining us on the podcast. A first-time Hall of Famer on the podcast. Say first time. This is the first time this Hall of Famer has been on the podcast. We've had other Hall of Famers on Blue Monday, Seb, but that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It'll be a brilliant occasion. Obviously, the West Brom game is a 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday. They've got to turn the venue around it in the Sir Bobby Robson suite. And then, yeah, James Scowcroft is for people like me who kind of fell in love with that late 90s, early noughties Burley side, he was a mainstay, a player that, arguably should never have left. And when he did leave in the summer of 2001, you could kind of see the effect it had on the team. So, yeah, a proper Ipswich Town hero from the Wembley 2000 promotion side. He'll be great value. And, look really excited. Hopefully we get very good numbers. I think, aren't we in discussions to have to get more tickets available because they're selling so well? I think I heard Ben say on the flagship. So it's going to be a great night. And yeah, if you can, get yourselves along there. And don't forget discounted tickets if you're a Telegram or a top tier member as well.
Thank you very much, Seb. There's going to be a BM Rewind with Dave and Craig, which goes live on Top Tier on Wednesday. They're reflecting on happy memories of East Anglian derbies. Hopefully in a few years' time, we'll be talking about this one coming up on Sunday, which you're going to preview live at 8 o'clock on Thursday night, Seb, alongside Benjamin Bloom.
Yeah, me and Ben back in the hot seat for the preview show that neither of us really want to do. But yeah, we will go into the detail of Norwich, how they're going to play, how we're going to play, how their season's gone so far, what's not working for them. I'm sure we'll discuss Liam Manning at length as well. So yeah, tune in 8 p.m. me and Ben on Thursday evening.
And then on Sunday night, the boys are going to do the flagship show and talk about the first derby win since 2009. Fingers crossed.
I really
it's half of my life ago, Seb.
It feels so strange because, we growing up, you had the 5-0 and then under Magilton, we were pretty decent against them. Certainly at Portman Road, you had the 3-1 with Legwinski scored and obviously the Jim Magilton's final game with Gio dos Santos. And then since then, Christ, I mean, I know there's been a lot of draws and there's a lot of years in those 16 years we've been in different divisions, so we haven't played each other, but surely this time I remember being so confident at the December 2023 game. We were absolutely flying and it finished a 2-2 draw and Broadhead could have had a hat trick. So
yeah, we weren't even bad that day, were we? It's not
no
badly.
And there were question marks over both the Norwich goals as well. So it's a long time coming, and hopefully Sunday is the day where we can finally turn it around.
Yeah. And on the flagship, they were talking about the first derbies that they attended, home and away. Seb, let's get involved with that as well.
I did the back-to-back god-awful 0-0 draws, 98, 99, and then 99, 2000, I think it would have been. Nothing to write home about on those ones. They were pretty awful. And then my first one at Portman Road, we did lose one. I can't remember if it was before the 5-0 or after. Craig Bellamy scored at a 1-0 Norwich win, but I cannot remember if that was after the 5-0 or before it. But one of those two is my first ones. If it was Go, sorry, Mikey.
That was after Seb, and I know that because my first one was the 5-0, and I was also at the game where Bellamy scored the winner and had simply the vest underneath his shirt. My first away East Anglian derby was the Danny Haynes handball winner in injury time. So yeah, my first East Anglian derby memories are really good, and that's probably why I still look forward to them and get excited by them, even though they've been utterly miserable for the most part throughout my adult life. But there we go. That's the Norwich game. I'm sure there's going to be some questions on that here as well. But a complete change of pace here, because the first question I can see here is from We Follow the Town. He asked, where does Cam Humphreys fit into the squad? Surprised not to see him go out on loan during the January transfer window.
Yeah, I think he probably will make a loan move, barring injury. He's going to be, the fifth choice central midfield. You've got Matasiwa, Kayust and Nunez kind of vying for those places. You've got Jack Taylor as the backup. So Cam Humphreys, I guess the advantage, you can play that left wing-back role, but with Ashley Young kind of in the squad as well, and Ben Johnson there, arguably at a push, it's probably why Cam Humphreys hasn't featured so far this kind of season. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes out on loan in January to play some games, unless we look to move maybe someone like Jack Taylor on going into the last 6 months of his contract. There's a chance if you can get a bit of money for him, you might do that. And suddenly, therefore, Cam Humphreys becomes the fourth choice and is probably a bench option most weeks, especially given his versatility. But if those four remain, then yeah, Cam Humphreys needs to go and play some football in January for 6 months, doesn't he?
Yeah, injuries do happen though, don't he? And he can potentially be covered at left back as well. Texas Tractor Boy, do we need to start thinking of a striker come January? Is he not having a Thon or not having Hurst or both?
Well, it's difficult, obviously, isn't it? George Hurst has 3 goals so far this season, was red hot in pre-season, but hasn't really. He's struggling more with his link-up play and kind of his touch so far this season. I would suggest, I guess, a lot of people want us to really push the boat out for a clinical striker in the summer. Chuba Akpom can play in that position, but he's being used more as a 10. As on, it's kind of too early to judge him, I think. I've liked what I've seen at times. I really liked against Pompey the way he strode forward, opened up his body, and was really unlucky with that shot that hit against the post. But yeah, I guess if there's any doubt, if we get to January, let's say, and Hurst is maybe on 6-7 goals, Azon still hasn't scored. If there's any good quality strikers available, which there might not be, there seems to be a real dearth of top quality number 9s the way that the game's gone in the last few years. I would back McKenna Ashton to push the boat out and get somebody in if they feel they need to.
Paul Whitmore. Would the panel be satisfied with a playoff place, or should we be a top 2 team?
I think we should still be aiming for the top. No, I think we should still be aiming for the top 2, in my opinion. I know we're a little bit off it, but it's so early in the season. And as I said, beat Norwich on Sunday, 7 points from this week is encouraging. You go into the international break. You've then got Borough away, which will be very, very tough. But if you can go to the Riverside and pick up 3 points, suddenly you're shooting up the table. And, that question maybe in January, February time when we've played a lot more football is easier to answer. But at this stage, given the quality we've got in the dugout and on the pitch, we still need to aim for automatics, I think.
Yeah, I think if you offered me top 4 now, if you offered me 3rd or 4th, I probably would be satisfied, because that means that we've had a decent season. Maybe if we're finishing outside the top 2, it's a little bit of disappointment there, because with the squad that we have and the manager, as you say, said we should be aiming for automatic promotion. But 3rd or 4th means a decent points tally and a good season. In terms of the fact that we've got so many new players that we're trying to bed in, which obviously makes life difficult. But yeah, 5th or 6th, that means that we're losing quite a lot of matches or not winning enough matches, and no home advantage in the playoffs either. So I'd be satisfied with 3rd or 4th. I think Seb 1st or 2nd only. Otherwise, you're last. Reverend Make Love. That was a bit of a mess, I thought. Can we now admit that Matasiwa is an improvement on Morsey? It's just that he's not Morsey.
I think
in some respects he is. He is a step up in some ways, isn't he? In terms of the way he moves around the pitch. He's a classy operator, isn't he? But we do miss Morsey's leadership skills.
Yeah, I guess on a night like tonight, Morsey would have really got hold of them and kind of driven the standards, and been that kind of player who looks to drive the team, get the team up the pitch, take games by the scruff of the neck. And I guess that's not necessarily Matasiwa's kind of forte. I think he's improved with pretty much every game so far this season. I think I had him down as my arguable man of the match on Saturday against Portsmouth. I really like the way he kind of has slotted in effortlessly to that, dropping deep and picking the ball up at the centre half, saw Palmer, and then looking to get us going. It's just the intangibles, isn't it? It's driving the standards, it's the quality, it's taking the game by the scruff of the neck, it's bellowing at people all game in the centre of the park, and maybe that little bit of nastiness that you miss occasionally on a championship away day when you might want your captain maybe to leave one on somebody just to to make out that we're not going to be pushed around and not going to be bullied. Then you might well miss that.
We do miss. We are missing Morsey, aren't we? But we've got to move on from it. And this player that we've brought in, he is an absolute gem, isn't he? I don't think anyone can argue against that. Does McKenna now make 6 changes for Sunday? Asks Stephen Gerling.
I think it goes back to the pretty established kind of first 11 that we've kind of come to recognise. I imagine Palmer, Furlong.
Does McAteer start after that?
I'm not sure, because he couldn't get going at all tonight, could he? His game is about pace and running, and the few occasions he did get clear, he didn't seem to know what to do when the ball was at his feet in the final third. Agelli, kind of in the Pompey game, he showed 1 or 2 good moments, played that lovely crossfield ball, maybe at home looking to take the game to Norwich. He's the more attacking option, so therefore you potentially do kind of go with him. Hurst will come back in up front. I've got no doubts about that. I think it'll be Kiyus to Matasiwa in the middle. I guess you've got a decision to make at the number 10, but given Akpom, I know he won the penalty, but he didn't really do a great deal else today. Smolic could well come back in there as well. And then I guess is there an argument for Kipre to come back in alongside O'Shea at centre half? Greaves at times tonight, I thought kind of, looked a bit susceptible to that long ball down the middle, and perhaps if you want somebody to kind of marshal Sargent a little bit, then maybe Kipre looks to come back in for that one. So it might well be 6 changes, but reverting to the more established lineup that we've kind of recognised in these first half dozen games or so.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. What about Smodic off the right, Seb? Just a way to get him into the team and keep.
Yeah, I mean he's done the pre-match and the kind of interview. He says he can play any of those 3 roles behind the striker or as a central striker. We've just never really tried him there. I can't remember any time last year in the Premier League. He played off the left for the vast majority of last season, kind of cutting in field onto his right foot. He's been playing as a 10 sort of the first 3 or 4 games this year before Chuba Akpom came in. It's just that right-sided role in a McKenna team is so crucial, isn't it? It's about stretching the play. It's about taking the defender onto the byline and getting crosses in. And I'm not sure that's necessarily Smodic's game. That should be, in theory, McAteer out of Agelli, Smodic and himself. He's probably the one who is best suited to that role because of his athleticism, but he didn't have a great night at all tonight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Agelli comes in, but please, God, don't put him on set pieces on Sunday.
Come on, it was just one set piece. It's easily done that. Mabby 13 says play the team we played against Portsmouth. That's quite a simplistic way of looking at it. And we follow the town says he's enjoyed Kipre at the back. We're definitely giving a start over Greaves, but yeah. Bargle disagrees. Thought Greaves was good again. He gets the flack for both centre halves for some reason. There was one really good interception from Greaves tonight, wasn't there, Seb? One really strong defending, and then in their box he managed to get his head to one, which he hasn't really been doing.
Yeah, he showed moments. I just worry that he does have a bit of a rick in him. He's made a few errors so far this season, apart from the Blackburn game. It was the wander upfield against Southampton where we got we got caught. Preston, he gave away the penalty. Obviously, Blackburn, he gets himself sent off. So I wasn't surprised he came back in tonight. But I just thought him and O'Shea, to be fair, at times they just couldn't seem to deal with those long balls down the middle. And I just wonder, would a Kipre, who's perhaps more comfortable in the air with his physicality and his strength, have dealt with those ones better? But perhaps, I think.
Okay, on to the next one. We Follow the Town. Looking forward to a potential clash between Ono Hernandez and Nunez when Charlton come to Portman Road in a few weeks. I must admit that completely got away from me, that one. I didn't realise he'd gone there.
Yeah, he's joined this week, hasn't he? And obviously, he gave an interview when Nunez joined saying, next time I play against him, I'm going to snap him or something. He likes to shoot his mouth off. He's done it so many times in the past. I'm guessing he's not match fit. It's 3 weeks tonight we play Charlton, so I'd be surprised if he were to start. But if he gets on and Nunez is on the pitch at the same time and they go in for a challenge, I think I know who my money would be on in that one.
There's a question here on Matt Seawer again. Who comes in when he gets 5 yellows soon?
Well, in theory, Jack Taylor is kind of the backup for that role, but I think you'd play Nunez and Kayust, wouldn't you? And just Nunez can kind of play the 6 or the 8. He can play both, so you'd have him in that slightly deeper role and have Kayust alongside him, still looking to get upfield and kind of break the lines.
Trevor Omos says Josh Sargent plays on the shoulder, so who's best to marshal that, Kipre or Greaves?
In that instance,
I think Greaves for that.
Greaves is quicker, yeah. So if Sargent is going to play on the last shoulder, then Greaves is arguably the one that you want there. I just think that perhaps... No, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Greaves and O'Shea, I guess they've got to build that understanding. They are 2 top quality centre-halves at this level. It's just that I would argue so far this season we haven't necessarily seen that, I don't think, in any of the games.
Okay, Seb, I think this is a good point to finish this show tonight, because it wasn't a classic, was it? Oh, yes. Thankfully, we've got Rich in the background who's reminded me that we're going to talk about the other results from tonight. Birmingham City drew at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Wednesday picking up some points, aren't they?
That was a 99th minute equaliser by Birmingham by Damari Gray as well. So, yeah, Sheffield Wednesday really unlucky there not to leave St Andrews with all 3 points. And if they had done, that's a bit of pressure there building on Chris Davis, isn't it? Not what they would have been expecting at the start of the season. And
then Blackburn beaten by Swansea. Swans are good on water, aren't they? And they've gone to Blackburn and got the win there. Hull 2-2 draw against Preston. Looks like a lot of draws here.
No home wins, are there? No home side won at home tonight.
Wrexham seem to be really good on the road, but not so good at home. A decent draw for them away at Leicester.
Nathan Broadhead as well with the equaliser for Wrexham.
Nice. Middlesbrough held at home by Stoke. Middlesbrough stay unbeaten. Sheffield United, they led that one, didn't they, against Southampton? I think Chris Wilder was sent off at half-time for kicking the ball in the face of an opposition fan by accident.
I think so, yeah. I think so. And then Southampton obviously turned it around in the second half. And yeah, that's quite a big result for Southampton, because Sheffield United picked up their first points at the weekend, didn't they? And look, you would expect with Wilder in the building, they would start to go on a bit of a run. And, you know, Southampton haven't started great, a bit of questioning around Will Steele. So that feels like a big win for them away from home.
And then Derby won, Charlton won. Doesn't look like the most exciting night of fixtures as well. If my producer can bring up the table, though, so we can talk about that, even though we're missing a few matches, of course. So yeah, Middlesbrough and Stoke 0-0 draw keeps them both in the top 2, but yeah, chance for Coventry City to close the gap tomorrow night. Ipswich, oh no, I thought we were clinging on to the top half there, but it's just
the top 13.
Just the way we've got the screenshot there. But yeah, still only 3 points off the playoff positions, 4 points off the top 2. Got a game in hand on the top 2 as well. So yeah, it hasn't been a vintage start, has it, Seb? And maybe 1 or 2 false dawns as well.
Yeah, potentially, obviously. But as I said, tonight, it's a point when you've not played well, away from home, at a difficult place to go, stick it in your back pocket, get out of town and look to go again at the weekend. And if we're sat here, if the guys on the flagship are sat here on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. and it's a 7-point week, then it's absolutely fine, isn't it? 7 points from the 3 games is fine, and you're further up towards the playoff positions. You get into the international break then, and it's a big game then against Borough at the Riverside in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, frustrating evening. Didn't play well, didn't lose. Importantly, unbeaten now in 4, and hopefully we can get ourselves a win on Sunday.
Absolutely, Seb. Couldn't have said it better myself, so I'm not going to even try.